Pamoja, Tutashinda, brothers and sisters. Together, we will win. Today, Visions of Our People brings you another milestone in African history as we present to you part 2 of a sermon by Jaramogi Abebe Ageyman, also known as Reverend Albert B. Clegg Jr., founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church and author of The Black Messiah and Black Christian Nationalism. This sermon, entitled How Do We Understand the Bible?, was preached by Jaramogi at Shrine of the Black Madonna No. 1 in Detroit, Michigan in the spring of 1968, almost a year after the 1967 rebellion. And in honor of Jaramogi's upcoming 108th birthday on June 13th, here's part 2 of his sermon entitled, How Do We Understand the Bible?
The public ministry of Jesus lasted about 3 years. And from the very beginning, he was trying to put together a movement. We don't think of Jesus as an individual who's out in the street trying to put together a movement. We think of him always with his beautiful little curly locks hanging down, with his dress on, walking around, reaching out, patting little children on the head, sitting down with a bunch of women talking about nothing. That's all we think about when we think about Jesus. That and what he's going to do after a while when we get up yonder. Jesus was a revolutionary leader. He preached in Nazareth to people because he wanted them to join a movement. He went into the synagogue and people were sitting there just like we sit in churches all over the world. He looked out at them and he knew there's nothing here. That's why he walked up front and said, let me read something. And he read from the prophet Isaiah about things being changed. And you know, they got mad. That's the way complacent people always get. They said, here he comes in here, that ain't nothing but the son of Joseph. We know him. The carpenter's son used to live right up the street. How does he think he can come in here and tell us what we're supposed to be doing? They were mad. He's talking about today prophecy has been fulfilled because I'm going to do these things that the prophet Isaiah said were going to be done. And what did they do? They tried to kill him. They took him out and would have stoned him to death, but he escaped. This was the beginning of the ministry of Jesus Christ. It began in violence and confusion, struggle and conflict, because he was talking to the satisfied people and they would have nothing to do with it. He escaped. And then very shortly thereafter, he heard the news that John the Baptist had been arrested. Now, they were trying to tap the movement. That's why they arrested John the Baptist. He was the leader of a revolutionary movement. Some of it was above ground and some of it was below ground. But what they said, if we get John the Baptist, the movement will die. So they came and got him and they locked him up, and the word came back to Jesus that they have arrested John the Baptist. And Jesus fled from Galilee. Jesus fled. Now, there's nothing cowardly about this flight. It was the only sensible thing he could have done, because obviously they were beginning to pick up those individuals that they thought were leaders in this revolutionary movement. So he fled to Capernaum, and he carried on the basic part of his ministry there outside of Galilee. Or he came back in by stealth sometimes for a little while, but he left. He carried on his ministry outside of the most dangerous part of Israel. And he said to himself, he said to his followers, in a sense, that with John arrested, I have to take over the leadership of the movement. But obviously he hadn't been the leader of the movement at the beginning, because he came to John the Baptist to be baptized, to be accepted, to be recognized. Now John the Baptist is taken out of control of the movement, and he steps into the control of the movement. And his control of the movement was possible because John the Baptist had been arrested. But this kind of movement is important because Jesus from the very beginning felt that the movement can accomplish something. He didn't bring 12 disciples together because it was nice to have some people to walk along country roads with it. He collected disciples because he needed people to do the things that had to be done. And when he walked on the Sea of Galilee, he picked individuals. And he really picked individuals who were already a part of the movement. He didn't just go down by the sea and pick any fisherman. Because just then, just like now, most people don't have the slightest idea what's going on in the world. You walk down Linwood and try to pick 12 disciples, and your arches will fall before you find 12 people who know what's happening. You can't say, he said straight away, come and follow me. He did, because he knew them when he got there. They knew that he had been baptized by John the Baptist. They knew that he'd come into the movement. They knew that John the Baptist had been arrested. They knew that he was assuming leadership, so he said, come and follow me. We changed the whole character of the movement. But they came expecting that he was going to carry on the leadership that John the Baptist had had. And so the disciples came deliberately. They were selected deliberately from among revolutionaries, and they came and followed Jesus to do something. Expectation. You know, on Sunday when people come here to join, they coming into the nation, they walk down the aisle. I always wonder, are you coming into something to do something, or do you just feel good this Sunday? Do you realize the obligations and responsibility? Do you know you're coming into a revolutionary movement? Do you know we're trying to do something here? This is not just like going up to speak there and joining. I wonder. So when Jesus was picking his 12 disciples, he picked them carefully. He made some mistakes, as later times proved. They all betrayed him. But out of what he had to pick from, he picked the best he could. And he picked people who were committed to the movement and who believed that something can be done. Now this is a key. They believed that something could be done. Now it's very easy to go on from day to day and say to yourself, the whole thing is just too big. What can we do? Man got everything. He got the guns, he got the money, he got the army, he got the police, he got the courts. He got everything. What can we do? Well, you know, go out and get drunk. Smoke pot. What can we do? If you don't have any answer, you're insane. You've got to die. You've got to go crazy. If you just look around and say he got everything and there's nothing I can do, and you know what the problem is, there's nothing for you to do but just lose your mind. When you get that far, there's got to be an answer. Now, if you just run around out there in the street and don't even know what's happening, then you don't have to worry. You're not going to go crazy, everything else. You go to work, you think the white man is taking care of you. You proud to be with him, and you come home and he lets you buy a house, and you proud of that. You go out and you cut your grass, and you squirt your lawn, and you're taking care, you wash your windows, you're getting everything together. You just, every night you go to bed, thank God that the white man has made it so nice for me. You have a sense idea about the conditions that exist in the world. When he comes to get your son and send him to Vietnam to kill him, you just go down and pray, Jesus, take care of him while he's over there. You don't have any knowledge of what's happening. Now, you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose everything. You just say, well, that's the way it is. Times are bad. You don't understand that the man put it together like that. You never were supposed to be able to keep it. Never were. Those out there you don't have to worry about. Don't have to worry about them because they don't know anything about the world they live in. And when you go try to talk to them about it, tell them this is a system that's out to destroy you, they look at you like you're crazy. So Jesus, he selected people who at least could begin to understand they were in a struggle and could believe that there was something they could do about it. Believe that there's something they could do about it. Do you know that's what we need? Black people I'm talking about now. Today, in the 20th century, we need more people who believe that there's something that we can do about the problem. It's not enough just to cuss at them. You can have all the knowledge in the world about how bad things are. You can come sit down and tell me for days, people do it on the telephone, just how bad everything is. But they don't believe that anything can be done about it. It's just something they know. Oh, it's terrible. Nothing can be done. You say, well, why don't you come out and try to work with us? We're trying to do something about some of these. Oh, they're just getting worse and worse. I said, well, we got organizations. We got the nation here. We're trying to do, some little, the man, he got too much. I said, well, little things like buying a black pull-out. Maybe we get 3 or 4. Oh, man, that ain't doing it, man. That man, he's something else. Yeah, but we got to start someplace. We got to do something about it. Don't just sit there and cry about how bad it is. But that's the thing. We need more people who believe that something can be done. Even if what you believe can be done is wrong, we're better off if you believe something can be done. Now then we can get together and maybe we're all wrong, but at least we believe something can be done, and then we work it out. We'll work it out. When we sit down together, if we all believe that this is not an impossible thing, that this white man is not invincible, we can work out a method, a procedure, a program that will change things. We can get over the things that we disagree about. But if we get together, we don't even believe that anything can be done, then what hope is there for us? Not a bit, nothing in the world. We've got to first believe that something can be done. We've got to have an expectation. We've got to believe, as Jesus taught, that the kingdom is at hand. That means it's right over here if we get together and do something about it. Now you can approach that a lot of ways. Talk about Jesus, he had a different kind of a world, in a sense. But what Jesus was really saying was conditions are of such a nature that something has got to change. The kingdom is at hand. That didn't mean that he thought that he could get together 12 men and they could do it all. But he said, if we look around us, we see that the conditions, the nature of conditions, are such that things have to change one way or the other. And in this kind of a changing situation, we can have power enough to direct the way in which they are changed. The kingdom is at hand. The nation can be built. The very nature, the complexity of the problems everywhere creates the situation in which we can change things. Now you look around, you say, everything is so terrible, I just feel hopeless and helpless. It's right, that's right, everything is terrible. This white man's nation is falling to pieces day by day. But is that anything for us to be crying about? We've been praying for it for 400 years.
Brothers and sisters, you have been listening to part 2 of a sermon by Jaramogi Abebe Ageyman, also known as Reverend Albert B. Clegg Jr., founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church and author of The Black Messiah and Black Christian Nationalism. This sermon entitled, How Do We Understand the Bible? Join us again for part 3 of a 4-part series on Visions of Our People. Brothers and sisters, if you'd like to support the ministry and revolutionary Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church movement, visit the church website at www.shrinesoftheblackmadonna.org and click on the Donate Now button. You're also invited to join one of the revolutionary, spiritual, and inspiring live stream services on Sundays by clicking on the Detroit, Atlanta, or Houston tabs to worship with us. Because nothing is more sacred than the liberation of Black people.